wildflowers before the survey takes place, which is fair. No other farmer would cut a meadow now. The grass isn't growing. He's just cutting off the plant heads.
You
Flower
have to take
killer.
up with why he did it. We can't turn around and say we're not going to feel.
Yes, you can. If it's before a survey to establish whether it's a site of interest.
Please, could I? When a lot of the trees were cut down, somebody referred to it earlier, we was the first ones to report it. Okay?
What happened?
Yes, I agree. Now, first of all, I'm going to. You asked me to say a few words. I'm chairman of planning. I was going to leave it to the end of the evening, but obviously that's fair enough. Okay, so it falls. A lot of this is falling on my shoulders principally, but the whole council.
You're avoiding his question.
Just because.
You're avoiding his question. You are. You have not directly answered the question.
Because people keep interrupting.
Well, he should leave a speech.
If you don't get on part, I will just adjourn the meeting, and that will be the end of it. And you
Please,
won't get
could I say, okay, could I say, as chairman of planning, okay? There's misconceptions, a lot of it. I understand that everybody's up in arms. I can remember when this site was being looked at a year or two ago, and I said there's going to be a weight of public, sort of anger, which it is, okay? But the thing is, we are stuck between a rock and a hard place. We have some decisions that is just unbelievable. Some people even think that we are the planning authority as a local council. Okay? There's none of us with a planning background here, and you'll find that most local councils don't have planning consultants on them. They do their best for their town, but they don't know everything. We need to work with these guys 24/7 over there to keep up with it all. We've got reports up to our ears, and we struggle with it. Okay? So, right off the bat, I'll tell you one example. Station Road. Does anybody like the development of Station Road?
No.
Right, okay. How many of you thought that we was responsible and we said yes? You've all gone quiet. Not one of us was for that development. I spoke at a meeting up there in front of a load of people, 10-15 minutes. Why Penryn didn't need it. I even done the numbers. I even done the numbers. I've done everything. Guess what? It's still built. Guess what? It's the biggest kick in the teeth that Cornwall Council have given us, and it still makes me mad when I drive past it now.
It's only built for students, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is, you think that, or many of you have a perception that we are the planning authority. We are not. We are consultees. We are led by the experts, and we try to make our own decisions based on what is put in front of us. That's the first thing I would like to say.
You should be consulted with the community there, which is a big error.
Diane, we're having this meeting. It's a public meeting.
Mark.
But all I'm saying is that's right off the bat. Okay, I'm not happy about it, and I'm not happy about a lot of. There's things on this one, and I will cover it.
Station Road.
Farmers School, right? We was here Monday night. Okay, Farmers School is going to take the kids. Totally unacceptable. Okay. The middle fields, I've told right off the bat, I have an issue with that. I also have an issue with the settings of listed buildings. We have the viaduct there, the piers are listed, and it is a major planning consideration. And the building close to it on the central, what I'm calling the central fields, will, in my opinion, have an impact, and that needs to be mitigated. Neighbourhood plan, we talk about a neighbourhood plan. Chris mentioned it. We've just started a town team. It's going to be launched. We've got a couple of councillors on it, and then we've got Pip over there and all the rest of it. And obviously we're going to be launching it soon, Pip, and hopefully we'll get many more people on it. And this is to try to breathe life into the town, to handle some issues like this. One of the things is neighbourhood plan. Do you know, what if you found out that the neighbourhood plan actually agreed with these guys and prioritised the valley?
We'll be involved, so we'll find out. Wouldn't we?
But then we go up and build up by Treleaver, and then you've got Bodenham Road and everything else. Like you say, wherever you go, there's always going to be problems. And this is coming down from government. It's not these guys. They're just trying to find room to facilitate all this building boom that is falsely being financed. That's my personal opinion, Mike. Housing targets that we have to meet. Can I just finish that? Housing targets that these guys are telling us we've got to meet. And they've got a 5-year rolling stock, and they haven't got the evidence for it. And I tell you what, if you don't find the 5-year rolling stock, The government will point it to you because they will send an inspector down and they will say, this is where you're going to build, whether you like it or not. Now, could I just finish? We are many different backgrounds, like I said, you've got butcher, social worker, Tremo, ex-marine, health worker, used to run a guest house. I was a milkman for 15 years, where I lay a few bricks. Ted used to work for BT, obviously we've got Nick there, and Chris who was an architect. Jill used to run a nursing home. Okay? We get, go back. You think we're doing such a bad job for you? I'll tell you what, we're right about 19 out of 20 times. In the last probably 6 or 7 years I've been chairman planning, I have only had to speak about 3 or 4 different times at a subcommittee meeting because our views differed from the local planning authority, which is Cornwall Council. So it's very rare we get it wrong. Now we do get it wrong, okay? But it's rare. You've got to try to take the emotion out of planning. When everybody's up in arms, and I understand that, and I'm mad at it. Look, there's nobody more than me. I've lived up there, and I've looked. I will answer your question after I finish, please, if you let me. I look over those valleys every day. I wake up every morning. You trying to tell me that I'm sat up here and you don't think that's a beautiful landscape? I probably got just as much reason as anyone, and I could be sat out there as well. But you have to take the emotion out of planning. It does not get you anywhere. You've got to do it specifically, and it's got to be done on material planning considerations. Otherwise, you don't stand and look.
You've got to show a bit of passion, mate.
Passion.
Passion in
I'll tell you passion. 16 years of my life I've given for free, and I try to do the best I can. And there's a lot of years that have put in a lot more than that as well, and we all volunteer.
It's not all on your shoulders with the neighbourhood plan.
I realise that. It's a heavy document.
We have a big say with the neighbourhood plan.
I agree, but it's still.
It can just be an emerging neighbourhood plan.
Yeah, but it
It
still
doesn't
doesn't.
have to go to referendum.
It still doesn't protect, or may not protect, the fact that Richard Walker is going to put a planning application on our lap in a month.
It can, and it has been done.
You could say
It has been
no.
done in St Ives.
Yes.
Another thing I would say is affordability. You know, everybody's going on, we've got Louise there tonight, and we hear things of all other councils coming down from up the country and all this stuff. Rubbish. Rubbish. Okay? Louise will probably verify that. I'm not an expert on affordable housing, but that is a cast iron thing that I need to have in place. Because if we are to even consider developing part, some, or all of this thing, that is the one thing that I would be looking for more than anything else. Because we have generations of kids in this town that 10, 15, 20 years time, okay, 10, 15, 20 years time, will either have to leave, they'll live with their parents, and they won't be able to afford to put a roof over their head. Now that is the reality, and I would like to say, I go back and look on the old plans in the town. Okay, you go back even 50 years. You look around the town, I'll tell you what, we just had the main area here, Commercial Road, there was St James's Terrace, and the rest was all fields. A lot of you are living in land now that was fields. You know, a lot of developers, they say they build for the next generation's objectives. We need housing, we've been told, and if we don't say it's going to be here and it's deliverable by 2030, they will tell us. Now, material planning considerations, please. Okay, I'm sorry, that's all I'm saying.
Right, we must move on. Next
Sorry.
question.
We've not addressed David's question at all.
No, you haven't.
He asked if any of you had.
Well, I
Interest
take
with
that as a
Walker.
personal insult.
Yeah,
We all do. You are implying that we are...
No, I'm not implying. I'm asking a question. I'm asking. I'm not implying anything.
I have never
At all.
received a penny in any way, shape or form from Mr Walker.
Brilliant. Thank you.
for saying that.
Thanks. That's what I was looking for.
As the chairman of planning said, we all do it voluntary. We try our best for Penryn. I love Penryn. We all love Penryn. We try and do our best, and that's all we can do.
Right.
So, you know, you say that we're bribed by people, listen.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not inferring anything. I'm asking a direct question. I'm asking a direct
It's a yes
question.
or
The direct
no.
answer is no.
Thank you.
For
Thank you.
you. Is that for everybody?
And everyone's in on. Everyone's in to know.
If I could
Do you
just
want
come
every
in,
one of
Yes.
us to say?
Yes, please.
if I could just come in as the town clerk is responsible for code of conduct, declarations of interest and all of those things. There is a register of members' interests that they have to complete and they have to keep up to date. There's a link to that on our website, which I've already sent to someone that's asked that question, whether it was you or somebody else, I don't know. But that is available on the website. It lists all of councillors' pecuniary interests, land holdings, and any sponsorship, all of those things are ready available on the website. If anybody wants a hard copy, they're quite welcome to come in and get one.
Thank you.
Walker on that picture.
That is a legal requirement for all councillors throughout the whole of the country to have to register their interests.
What did you just say?
I read it the other day, funny enough, to check my own, because I my property moved, business-wise, and there's
Right,
no
we
mention
must
of
move
Mr
on.
Walker.
Yeah.
For anybody?
Nick Bradford,
Good, thank you.
been answered, thank you.
thank you. Martha Johnson. Martha?
I find this quite tricky. Would you mind if I sang my question?
Is that okay? Going to sing it?
I find it easy.
Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. We walk down through the valley, and now there's a sign on the fence. Is the deal already done? The thread already spun, golden thread into golden trees. But come on, that's no good to you or me. But a change is surely coming. Flying in like geese in spring. A good change is surely on its way. We just gotta open the door and let sense back in. Let's open the door and let sense back in. The next verse, you stick with me, it's a little bit shorter. Last year I had a dream. I dreamt I was an old woman. My grandchild climbed on my knee, and this is what she said to me. What was it like when birds flew in the sky? I confess I just held her and I cried. She said, I've been to the bird museum, but I don't think I'll ever really see him. Well, I woke up and I ran outside. I saw a golden linnet moving through the Penryn skies. You see what I'm saying is we still have time. We've got to be brave here. So my question to you, all of you, is you will tell this story to your grandchildren. Oh, yes, you will. How will you tell this story to your grandchildren? How will you take their hand? Please listen to me, counsel. You're whispering. I'm trying to ask you the most important question. Will you take them by the hand through College Valley and tell them that you did a good thing with your heart?
My question's related really to what Betty Levine was saying earlier on. My first memory of planning documents was from the 1980s when College Valley was designated as the College Valley Park, which stretched right back from back of St Thomas Street, up through the valley, up to the reservoirs, and that whole area was designated as a valley park. Unfortunately, when those documents were revised in the 1990s, the same designation was applied to that area by the I presume it was Carrick District Council in those days. And unfortunately, at public examination, all the green areas in Carrick were almost all thrown out, almost every single one of them. Since that time, College has continued to be a fantastic recreation area. It's so close to the town, so it's 5 minutes walk from the town, and you're out in the beautiful countryside. With the revision of their local planning documents, is there any mechanism in there, whether or not Walker Developments goes ahead, is there any mechanism in there for protecting that local area?
Within the document which you're producing, there is something called a green infrastructure structure which sits with it, which talks about creation of more public open space, biodiversity corridors, and kind of green links and so on. So there'll be some strategy that'll be linked to that. Obviously, when we produce that strategy, it will have to link to where proposed development will go. So depending on the debate that continues after tonight and where we finally put housing will influence how that green infrastructure structure comes forward. So that's kind of one element. My understanding, and I'm not kind of 100% on this because there's other colleagues that are dealing with some of the other planning documents, is that there is consideration to a document of that kind which is looking at kind of other landscape designations, but it won't form part of the document that's in here at the moment. It will have to conform with the wider development proposals that's coming forward. So I suppose in short, I'm not 100% certain at the moment whether a document of that kind will be put together, but there certainly won't be formal green space designation within the allocations document itself.
Is that because there's no provision in the statute for that, or the planning rules? Or is that a decision of Cornwall Council not to designate the area?
I think it's more of a decision by Cornwall Council, and like I said, that's why we are looking into whether a separate document is produced, which is kind of looking into those issues.
Right, next question for Derek Jackson.
Hi there. Yeah, my question's about due process of the decision made to prioritise College Valley over other sites. I think, is it Matthew? I think you said that the fact that a developer is in place in College Valley is not a key consideration. Is that right? You just said that.
It's a factor, but not an overriding factor, no.
Okay. These are the notes I've taken from the council website about the decision to prioritise College Valley, and I'd just like to read out the first couple of paragraphs, which are the outcomes and conclusions, because at the end of that it says a key distinguishing factor in these particular areas of the prioritisation assessment is that whilst the issues are of a similar nature for each site, College Valley has been demonstrated through a range of work carried out by a single landowner developer that potential solutions to the given issues or problems are possible. So surely that demonstrates that whilst you say that these two issues are disconnected, that the Walker development is, you've got to take it on its own merits and it doesn't impact the decision between the two sites. Surely this demonstrates that it does. And what I want to ask is that this decision that you say has been done or based on robust evidence, which from what this says, it implies that a lot of that evidence has come from the developer. Will you make all of that evidence that you've based your decision on available to the whole public and community, and will you give the whole of the community the opportunity through further consultations to come up with alternative potential solutions?
I suppose two parts in that. As I kind of, in the first answer to you, it's a consideration of the fact that there is a developer there, but often what's more important, or as important, or more important to us, is the fact that it's in a single ownership. One of the things that we have problems with when allocating a site, wherever it may be, is if a larger area, and we're talking about kind of quite large areas of land, when we're talking about 100 to 200, 220 dwellings, that's quite a large area, it can be a number of fields. When that's split up into many different ownerships, we know that that can cause problems in terms of deliverability. So that's kind of one element of it. In terms of coming up with alternatives, that's what this next consultation will be. The previous consultation, which I appreciate many of you weren't aware of, the questions in there at the time was, there were 5 options in there, and the questions that we asked was, are there any that you specifically want or don't want, and also offered the question for anyone to answer in terms of, are there alternative sites that you think are better than the ones that we've come up with. So that was in the previous consultation, but in the next consultation that we've referred to before, which will be kind of later at the end of the summer, that will also give people the opportunity to raise objections to what's being proposed in that document, and if they wish to do so, highlight alternatives. And that's certainly something we prefer people to do. We don't want people to object, but if people are going to object, we very much prefer people to come up with what their alternative will be. So that will be an opportunity to do that.
All right, I think you answered the second part, but not the first part properly, because you said the key reason for the prioritisation of College Valley over the other sites had nothing to do, there wasn't a consideration of the developer in place. But, from the own, conclusions from the notes, the decision, it obviously was. And it seems like a lot of it was down to work done by the developer, which is obviously going to be biased. So will you make all the information available, and can you can you make it clear how you came to that decision? Because surely the fact that the developer in place is a key factor.
That's a consideration, as I said before. It's part of the consideration that the fact that there is a developer there is a consideration and does help to demonstrate deliverability, but it's not an overriding factor. We, in coming up with our own evidence, we didn't seek any work that was undertaken by a developer, whether it's Richard Walker, whether it's any other developer, whether it's for this area or others. It's based upon our own evidence base. And with the other point you raised, all of the evidence and all of the background information on how we kind of got to that decision on looking at all land around Falmouth and Penryn, to the options and how we got from those options to the preferred option. All of that will be documented and will be available during that consultation process.
Is it not a worry that site can only be developed by Richard Walker because he owns the land? How can anyone else afford it apart from Richard Walker?
I'm not sure how that's a problem if it is a developer and if that's a prioritised site to provide housing. What would be the
Or in
problem?
terms of
Feels
competition.
like a monopoly, doesn't it?
If you own the land, you're to a degree, you're entitled to do what you want.
Yeah, but well, we have planning laws, don't we? You can't just do whatever you want on your
Assuming
land.
it's within the law.
Yeah.
But will he have the council over a
Collecting
barrel?
rights, so.
Because he's the only one who can do it. You can't say we'll get another developer to come in, you know, there's no choice, there's no competition, it's only him.
Well, no, but when you're talking about that, we're talking about one site.
Yeah, but well,
in terms
with
of
this
the overall
site.
target, we've got 2,600 houses to build, and this site is 200 houses off that. So it's not like we're identifying a single site to deliver all of our target. There's a huge number of sites that collectively will deliver that. But also, with every single one of those sites, every one is owned by a person, and it will be their choice as to whether they bring it forward or not. And I suppose a relevant point with that is, with the documents we produce, what we also have to do is continually review them. So hopefully, one day, we'll get to the end of this process and we'll have a document that has a strategy for this area. But once that's in place, once it's endorsed by Cornwall Council, that's there. But every year, every couple of years, we have to keep looking at that and seeing how it's coming forward. Is it coming forward as we suggested? If it's not, then we have to review that process again.
Excuse me. Is it still really 2,600 houses in Falmouth and Penryn? I thought they'd come down, as the gentleman over there said, to 700 over 15 years.
Well, you're right, the overall target is 2,600.
But it's already been partly achieved.
How many now?
We haven't got to deliver 2,600. Well, just because that slightly exaggerates the urgency, and this site is for 220, which out of 700 is like 40% or something. So that's a big hump in one go. You know, it might be a little more tricky to spread it round, but I'm sure we could.
How many is left?
Over 15 minutes.
You said earlier on 2,600 is the original target, and there's 500 that have been built. How many are, do you know roughly how many have planned? Off the top of your head?
Still off the top of your head, or I could look at the notes I put for there's around 700 that's got planning permission. There's another couple of hundred which is awaiting a section 106, a kind of a document that sets what developer contributions. So with that going through, there's around 900 or so that's already been permitted.
So there's 1,200 to build. 1,200 to go on their original figures, on the 2,600.
Just to clarify that.
Sorry.
Probably just build on both anyway.
Yeah.
Anyone. As you said about Tilbury Fields and they tested and they still looked there.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about Strawberry Fields.
I think I hopefully can set your mind at rest, because I did shadow and see how the framework process went from 2010 to the August 2012 consultation. And there were about 15 people from both towns of all sorts of expertise that were coming in on regular meetings, almost monthly, I think it was at one point. And they started off with 14 sites around Falmouth and Penryn, and they went through endless matrices. This was led by the gentleman behind me, and it was a very thorough process of knocking off problems. And believe me, of all the 14 sites, there were nightmares in all 14. So you can take all the problems we're hearing tonight and apply them to the other 14 sites. I think we're left with 5 now. But that's Richard Walker didn't come anywhere near this process.
Why did you say that in the conclusions then, that was the difference between the two sites? Your own conclusions, it says that was the difference between the two sites. The two sites were very similar in nature, but the fact there was a developer with potential solutions was the difference. That's in your own conclusions.
There were 13 categories we looked at comparing the North Penryn and College Valley. From memory, I think about 12 seemed to favour College over North Penryn. One of those 12 was the fact that the site was deliverable and the other wasn't. So that's why.
Right. Next question.